Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode, brand new year. It's 2021 of Cage Talk. My guest today, he's been in the fight game for more than 20 years. This guy is a stud. All the fighters know him. If it's not boxing, if it's not UFC, I mean, they know him. I have a very special guest. His name is Burt Watson, who's been boxing legend, former manager, Smoking Joe Frazier. Okay, there it is. 15 years operations backstage and fighter relations for the UFC. Again, UFC, it's a big organization. But guys, remember that for the show to go on, you need people backstage. You need, sound guys. You need the commentators. It's not only the referees. It's not only Dana White. I mean, to make this whole show go on and to perform at its peak, you need people like Burt. You need people like John Anik, the commentators. Again, this man has been in the UFC. He's the grandfather. He take cares of all the fighters. We have Mr. Burt Watson.
The OG.
Exactly. How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm trying to make it, baby. How you doing? It's a pleasure to be here with you, baby. Alex?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, thank you so much for coming on. And before we get the show started, explain to everyone, if they don't know, what Operations Backstage Fighter Relations is for the UFC and how long you've been doing it. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I've been in operations and backstage and behind the scenes before MMA, because before that I did boxing. My entire career has actually spanned longer than you and that bottle of water you got drinking there, baby. Between MMA and boxing, it's been a total of, I'd say, about 35. Wow. 35 years or better. My first event I ever went to was March 8th, 1971. And those of you who go to Google, and all of y'all go to Google, because that's all y'all live by is Google. That was when Joe Frazier fought Muhammad Ali and knocked him out with that infamous left hook.
Yes, sir.
But in putting together boxing or MMA and the UFC, there's a whole group of optics that are put in place for those things to happen. And I mean, a ton of things have to happen. A ton of things have to fall in line, have to fall in place. A lot of people have to make it happen. A lot of good people have to make it happen. When fighters get signed for a fight, they have to show up to the facility or the event or site location.
Okay. When
they get there, they do paperwork, and then everything else they do from that point on is left to the discretion, the creativity of somebody like myself. Okay. Behind the scenes consultant as myself. So when I say the creativity, the first thing I ever did with a fighter when he arrived on scene was, first of all, to put him on a scale to check his weight. But before he got there, I made sure that I had a scale that was certified and calculated and calibrated by the state commission or someone who does that. Because two things a fighter looks for. At the beginning, he looks for a scale, and at the end, he looks for his paycheck. And you gotta make sure both of those things are right. Yes, and for the sake of the show itself and making sure that it happens, it has to be right. So I make sure a scale's right. I make sure that the room's set up for them to work out, because fighters work out between a fight. A fight's on a Saturday, a fighter gets in on a Monday or Tuesday, and that entire week he's cutting weight and he's working out. And you have to provide the facilities for them to do that. Adequate facilities with good mats, good towels, drinking water, the mats are clean, the room's clean, the temperature is right, the location is right, because some of them fight week become prima donnas. Don't want to walk too far or don't want to run too far. and all of those things have to be put in place. So prior to them getting there, I put all those things in place with a group of people that I have working for me. Usually when I do a show, I have anywhere between 4 and 8 people working with me. They and everything from picking the guys up at the airport to bringing them to the hotel to taking them to their room and all those things. And a guy comes in and I know what the weight's supposed to be, and I check the weight, and they get on the weight, and they want, first thing they want, that scale. So I take them to a workout room that I've set up with good, clean mats and brand new towels and, you know, a water cooler or bottled water or whatever, and the room temperature.
Yes, sir.
You know, a room can be less than 62 degrees, you know, and that may sound like a little bit, but when it comes to fighters, it's a lot, because when they walk in, that's the first thing, you know. So I make sure that it's all done and it's done right, and they come in and they get their weight checked, they go through the room. Then they have to do paperwork during the course of the week. And there's a lot of paperwork. There's state paperwork. There's paperwork that they fill out for the promotion.
Okay.
Commission slips, HIPAA, which are medical forms that they have to agree to and fill out. Contracts they got to fill out. Travel they got to fill out. Next location they got to fill out. Arrivals and departures. And I have to legitimately set up a sheet, an arrival sheet, for everybody that comes in, so that I know exactly when they come in and when they have somebody at the airport to pick them up.
Wow. And
you know what? They don't worry about that shit. Oh, are we on daytime television? Can I say that word?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You can say whatever you like, man. The floor is yours, brother.
They don't worry about that shit, because they know that I'm going to have it in order, and it's a part of what I do. But also, so you know that is a part of what they need to take that walk, fight night, from the dressing room to the cage or the ring. So that's a hell of a walk, baby. Mm-hmm. So I make sure all of that stuff's right. And then in the process, before they get there, and by the time they're preparing to get there, I also take a road trip. I go to find the closest pharmacy. Okay. I go to find the closest grocery store, the closest laundromat, you know, anything. I always tell guys, if it's up here, I want it right here, baby. If it's in here, especially if it's in here, I want it right here. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask, baby.
Yes, sir.
So I do all those things and make sure all those things are in order. They come in, and they've gotten to, those who have worked with me know that that's going to be like that they're going to have that. So I have all those things set up. They come in, they get their weight checked, we check their temperature, we check all that stuff. They go to their room, they put their stuff away. When they get to the room, sometimes they need to call me back and give me their room numbers. Sometimes I get on site early enough to get their rooms and assign it.
Gotcha.
Now that's a task, because if you and I are fighting each other, ain't no way in hell you want your room next to mine.
Exactly.
Okay, so I gotta look at the bout sheet, know who's who, and sometimes I have to also go back from past history, from the history I know of these guys.
Well, training camps as well.
Oh, yeah. I know all of it. Yep. So I know, you know, I'm like, you know what? I know who don't like Boo.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna put Boo and who on the same floor, because these are fighters. I can't blame them for fighting.
Yeah.
Okay. Or fighting each other or wanting to kick somebody's ass. So that goes into play. Wow. Where these guys are placed, what floor they're on, where they are in relationship to me being able to get to them and to get back from them, you know, and where they are in relationship to the general public and how close, you know. So I put all those things into my equation, and I do that. And I make up the room. When they get there, I put them, they go to a room. And when they go to a room, if there's food that has to be issued, I have to make sure that they have food. Everybody has 3 meals a day. And when I say 3 meals a day, you're talking 13 fights. That's 26 fighters. That's times 3. That's 92 people.
Wow.
3 meals a day. You do that, that's 278, bruh.
Man, I can see how
Meals.
that could be hectic.
Okay. So and I'm making a little light of it, but specifically, that's how it has to be done. And you have to know those things when you're putting all those things together. Because, like I said, you know, if they come on site and they got to go up to a room, it's not their fault that they get a room next to the guy they're fighting.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And if they come downstairs and say, hey, I'm not going in that room, then you know what? I got to live with that.
Mm.
So you know what? I get a thing where I use 6th and 7th floor, wherever I put them, and separate them and make sure that they're separated, and that, you know, and that's a system that I created and I put together since I did my first fight for Joe Frazier, not for him, because his last fight was in 1981, but Joe Frazier has 7 sons or 7 relatives fighting at one time.
Wow.
And I did the shows. So I had to learn real quickly, you know, feast or famine, how to become a coordinator. So I learned how to do that. And I did that through boxing for him and with him. So I learned how to do that. And I did that, and I'd have all that stuff set up at the hotel, the room temperature. And then once I had all that set up, then I did my layout of the hotel. How to get in and out of the hotel.
Yes, sir.
Where was the service entry? Where was the fire escape? Where were the people that were not supposed to be in the hotel that snuck into the hotel, if you know what I mean? Okay? Because they ain't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get to know all that, and I get to know all the security, all the ground people. I walk around and I intentionally get to know the ground people, the people working around the hotel. Then I go back inside of the hotel and I get with the general manager. So I sit with them and I talk, and they know who I am because I got all the stuff they need. I got all the rooming lists.
Gotcha.
So they talk to me. So I tell them, I say, listen, you call me before you call the cops. Okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what my manager does.
That's exactly what I tell them. And they look at me at first, but then they know exactly what I mean.
They understand.
Call me before you call the cops.
Yep.
I got 42 room full of fighters, and they're all kids. And they're all young kids, testosterone flying all over the place. So do me a favor, call me before you call the cops. And in my career, I can tell you that I've gotten 38 phone calls. Okay.
If you think about it, if you think about it, you said you've been doing over 30 years. Yeah, that's not too bad at all.
No, but that's good. That's a good thing that they listen.
Yeah.
You know, and putting all that together. Then I got to get everything, and that's just on their arrival. Now I have to prepare for them to be comfortable for an entire week. That's where the grocery store comes in, finding out where the pharmacy is, finding out where the strip club is so I can go put a big X on the door. You know, finding out where a local gym is because somebody may not want to work out, you know.
There.
And you know something, Alex? When I sit and talk to guys, I listen. Nothing anybody ever says is irrelevant. Because if they said it, that means they want you to hear it.
Yes, sir.
If you hear it, you need to know it. So I listen. The last thing I ever want is somebody, because when I do the dressing rooms, and I set them up and I put their names on the dressing room. That makes you feel good when you walk past the dressing room and your name is on the door. But Bert Watson knows that. Shit. You know? So I do that, but I do that very nicely, and I do it so that they're proud of it.
Yes, sir.
It's a thing for them of pride. But the last thing I want is a guy to walk up to a locker room, not a locker room, because that's a whole different thing. A workout room, and see a name on there like, oh shit, I ain't working out in that room. Because what's his name is in there? Why he got me and him in the same room?
Gotcha.
Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, but I know it. And I think I've had that happen to me once
Hmm.
in my career. Once. So I got to know how I talk and I listen. And when I'm in the room and they come in and they do their paperwork, I'm listening. They talking, but I'm listening. And I can hear somebody say, oh, look, what's his name? Fucking pimp. Oh, I'm sorry. They say things and, oh man, he got his ass whooped the last time. Oh, I heard that what's his name went to work out with him and slapped him around. He couldn't handle it, so he had to leave training camp. That's the kind of stuff that I hear.
Okay.
And you know what I'm talking about, baby.
Yes, sir.
So you got to know that. You got to hear that. You got to feel that. Because they got to get a comfort level that you're going to take care of them.
Definitely.
And I do that all during the course of the week. And every day, you got to go in those rooms and you got to clean those rooms. You got to pick up them nasty, dirty, filthy towels that them fighters just wipe and whatever and throw it down and leave it because they don't clean because Bert cleans.
Yep.
Or Bert's people clean. So we go and we clean through that and we clean it up and make sure it's refreshed. And I wash those mats down 3 times a day. Any event I do, I wash the mats down. And you know what? You think about it. You probably do a little grappling or something every now and then. And think about going in a room where the mats haven't been cleaned in 2 days. Think about that. I clean them 3 times a day, baby. And I always made sure that when they were clean, I walked in there. So the guys that I had doing it knew Bert was around.
So you're good. You're good.
So
Exactly.
so they knew I was coming around, and that was, and everything I've said to you is a system that I set up.
Yes, sir.
And I set it up as I went along. I learned as I went along, and then you had that during the course of the week. And then later on, after the course of the week, then you had fight night. The dressing rooms had to be set up fight night. You had to be more meticulous fight night than you did weigh-in night. Because the last thing you need, because once you get in the dressing room and fighters start coming in, when a car or something rolls down the hill, you can't stop it and push it back uphill.
Oh, sir.
And when that fight gets started, it's rolling downhill, baby. And that's with the fighters, that's with the commission, that's with the television, that's with the venue people, that's with the catering people, that's with all the corner people, that's with all the people that work for me, and all the fans out there that want to snatch my hat off when I walk by. All of that. And I hope your people are listening, baby.
There you go. Yeah, definitely.
But this is OG shit, okay?
And you know what? If you didn't do your job as well or anything like that, people wouldn't recognize you, or fighters wouldn't recognize you. You see on your Instagram page and you see how many fighters talk to you, how many pictures, and that's not because you work for the UFC. It's because you made that relationship. You've done your job so well that they are comfortable with you. Like you said, that comfort level, right? You want that comfort level exactly when they come in. And let me tell you, Mr. Watson, what you've done, you have given them more than peace of mind when entering the octagon or preparing for a fight. So again, hats off to you for doing your job to not 100%, but 120%.
It pays off, and I'm not a person that throws around names, but I do that and it makes me feel good, man. I mean, I just got a text day before yesterday from the Diaz brothers.
That's cool.
Now, you know damn well they don't be texting nobody, but that's the kind of relationship. And then, as I said, fight night, and I'm still going on as you asked me to, fight night, specifically, man, that stuff has to be detailed. Yes, because the last thing I need to do is in the middle of running around, stop and turn around and have to change somebody in the dressing room. And have somebody not want to go in the dressing room. And I've had that once. And that's once I've had that. And that's how you learn those kind of things. But I talked to him and talked him in, but I said, never again. never again. And they got to go in there. They walk in, put their stuff down, and they are at a comfort level that everything they need is there.
Is there.
They need ice, it's there. They need water, it's there. They need an extra mouthpiece, it's there. They need an extra cup, it's there. And whatever, a Band-Aid, food, anything but soda, coffee, and pasta. Don't bring that shit in my locker. Okay? I don't want none of that in my locker room because I don't want none of that on my mat.
Gotcha.
And everybody knew that. And everybody respected that. You know, I always say to my guys, and I call fighters my children, because they are. I'm 72 years old, bro, but I'm rolling like a mofo.
There we go. There we go.
And I tell them, I say, you know what? Listen, I can mess with you, but I won't let anybody else mess with you. And you need to know that. But I'm going to respect you, but you got to respect me more. And we good. And I'm going to tell you something, man. I can't tell you how much the guys listen to that and respect that. And I get a little mushy, man, when I think about the times and the things I've done with guys and the things guys have said to me. You know, I've had a few times where I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to hear that. Yeah. but you know what? I had to do this. I had to listen.
You had to listen.
Like, whoa, you know. But all of those things are, and I touched on the majority of it. But I touched on what's probably less than half of what it takes to put an event on. And not just an event the size of the UFC or Bellator or PFL, but just an event.
Yes, sir.
Just any event, just to make it happen. And I'm gonna go ahead of your questions.
Go ahead.
Let's talk a little more than you do.
hey, you know what? This is why I made the show. Not for me, it's for you. This is you, baby.
Imagine, and I created the system, and I'm proud to say that the system that the UFC is now
implementing
or expounding on or expanding on, or Bellator, or all, because most of the people that are in those organizations came from the UFC system somehow and came through me. And that's how they saw it. And when they went to those other organizations, they took, I'm going to tell you something.
Let me hear it.
And I'm going to take credit for it. Not credit, but that I know. You know, every MMA fight and boxing now that you see, what do you see on the gloves that make you identify with the fighter?
And the colors? Are you talking about the colors?
The red and blue.
Red and blue. Yep.
Guess who did that?
The man right here. That's good.
Thank you.
They needed that. Oh my God, it was killing me. They had in the beginning. They had the
white
duct tape.
This white duct tape or whatever.
Yep.
And I'll tell you how. Now you see me on the screen here. I would go in the back and I'm looking, and you see two fighters on the ground, and this is all you see. Now, if one's not white and one's not black, you don't know who the hell's who.
Yep, correct.
And you see that white tape around their arm. So I'm looking at the screen one day, and I'm like, ooh, that's not good. So I called, the next day I called Uline, and I asked him, do you have, I know you got red tape because California always used red tape.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and sometimes I saw, like back in the day with Pride, sometimes they had pink, sometimes they had blue.
They had that pink one, yeah, I remember.
So I said, and I got to cover my grounds, because when you say shit like this, everybody can go on Google.
Yeah, the minute you start Googling,
you go on Google after me, you better be right. So I kind of put all that together, and I called Uline, and I said, you know, can I get a red and a blue, specifically red, specifically blue? Just like that Seminole color down there. That's a specific burnt, that's a specific color.
Yes, sir.
That's just not any color. So you know what? They sent it to me. They gave it to me. So I took it to Dana and I said, I'm going to use this tape. And Dana looked at me and said, okay. Just like that. That was it. So I started maybe around UFC 62, maybe. I think the first time I tried it, and I had my guys do it, was I think Matt Hughes fought, no, Matt Serra fought George St. Pierre, I think.
Wow.
And they had put red tape on both of them, I think. And I went through the roof, but I was okay. Because the public didn't know what we were doing. The cameramen didn't, but they said, good, man, we can see. But then I had to switch it to blue and it made it, even the refs, and I remember Herb Dean. I think everybody knows Herb Dean a little more than they even know me.
Yes, sir.
Herb Dean said to me, man, he said, you know what? Now I don't even have to look for them. He said, peripherally, I can look and I see red and blue. I know what to grab.
Yep.
The television people told me that. So I'm on your show right now. I'm just telling you.
That's awesome. But again, look how something so small makes such a big impact, right? If you think about it, I mean, yeah, I remember the duct tape, and it was
it was gold duct tape, or it was regular white tape that once it got wet, they had to pull it peeling off, cut that shit off, you know. And
yeah,
that happened to me a lot in boxing, quite a few times. I didn't do it in boxing. I didn't do it till I was doing boxing heavy until 2000 when I met Dana, 99, because I met Dana at a boxing event.
Okay.
It was either Arturo Gatti and Oscar De La Hoya.
Good fight.
Or Zab Judah and Costa Zoo. One of the two of them. Now, you know, and I can't, like I said, Google, you can't lie on Google, because Google, you know, they'll tell you what color underwear you got on. So I did one of those fights. Somebody came in one day and said, hey, I got this guy that's trying to start this organization and he's looking for people. And, you know, I said, this is weigh-in, man. I ain't got time for that. But he said, well, we got to do something. I mean, this guy wants to, and he's going to pay you. I said, uh-oh.
That's it.
So after the weigh-in, he brought this guy in. We sat down and we talked. And I said to this guy, I don't totally know your business or that business, but if it's coordinating that you want, and you want a system created that's going to work, you pay me and respect me, and you got me.
Gotcha.
That was it. And that man was Dana White.
Gotcha.
And that was in the year 1999.
How was that transitioning from, I mean, again, boxing to MMA? Again, you said 99. It was barely starting. It was still, I mean, boxing was still boxing. It's different from today now. But how was that transition? Wasn't it too big? Were you a fan of MMA at first, or you didn't know too much? Again, a lot of people in 99 didn't know too much about that sport just because it didn't blow up yet.
Well, let me tell you something, bro. I knew Bruce Lee and Bruce Leroy. Okay? That's as much that, and you probably don't know who Bruce Leroy is, do you?
I do. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that shit, whatever that show was. But
I remember.
Anyway, that's what I knew.
Okay.
But I had no idea. But then you know what? I was and I'll say this, and if anybody hears this, no disrespect to MMA at all. I was a wrestling fan, a WWE fan, and that's what I knew.
Okay.
But then eventually I found out how different that was, because There's a difference between choreograph and winning a fight. Okay, you don't choreograph MMA.
No.
You win that fight. So that was the experience that I had, none at all. But I wasn't concerned about that because I had done boxing, you know, I had even done, I've done 2 Billboard Awards,
Okay.
if you can imagine that. I did part of an Emmy. I did the Latin Billboards.
Look at you. I know you know
As a
some
coordinator.
Latin.
Yeah, as a coordinator. I mean, all by myself. Well, when I say all by myself, they gave me the job as a coordinator.
Gotcha.
The travel, the scheduling, the rehearsals. I did all that. So, you know, I was pretty comfortable with doing that kind of thing and putting that kind of thing together and just not, you know, so you didn't have to tell me what to do or how to do it, but you had to give me a solid date. As long as I knew the date, I was there. And it was one of the things, Alex, that I take pride in, and I can honestly say, is that I have never worked for somebody to try to tell me what to do, ever. Dana White, Don King, you know who Don King is?
Absolutely.
Lou Duva,
You do.
Main Events, Cedric Kushner, Bob Arum. The only person in boxing I've never worked with is Lennox Lewis. Anybody else you can name. I did Tyson's last 6 fights. De La Hoya, Roy Jones, Tito Trinidad, Chavez. Anybody, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Larry Holmes, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard. Only person I've never worked with was, in some capacity, is Lennox Lewis. So I've done, now I'm gonna give you a number. In my career,
Okay.
no fighters, and I do a show. I'm pitching myself now. Is that all right?
Do it. Hey.
I do a show called Legends to Legends.
Yes, sir.
And it's on MMA Junkie, which I'm very proud of. And the starting this new year, we're gonna kick it off with a bang. I got 3 guys. The first 3 shows out of the box are gonna kick booty. And it's a show where I sit and talk to a true legend, and we talk about life, career, and what they've done and what they're doing. And the majority of the guys I know and I've worked with. So it's really easy to have a conversation. I was doing Instagram Live. You know, that's where you take your phone, you sit there.
Yeah.
And I did that twice because my daughter told me I should do it. I love my kids, I got grandkids. And I'm sitting there talking, and I said, damn, you know what? Why am I sitting there talking to myself? I need to be talking to somebody.
Yep.
So I got on the phone and I called Vitor Belfort. You know who Vitor is?
Of course.
So I called Vitor and I said, you know, yo, I'm doing this thing on Instagram and I'm sitting there, man, I'm talking to myself. Could I possibly get you to sit one day and talk? He said, oh man, hell yeah, I'll do that. He said, I'll be proud to do it. It'll be legend to legend.
There it is.
Oops. I said, oh, that didn't sound bad. So that's how it came about, Legends to Legends. So then I took the concept that I was going to do, because Instagram, I don't know if you've done Instagram, but Instagram is a trip.
It is.
You do Instagram, after 22 minutes, they start cutting that shit off. You know, and interrupting and flipping you upside down. And, you know, so that I called them to see what platform I could get on that I wouldn't. And they said, hey.
YouTube?
But MMA Junkie said, hey, let's talk about it. So that's why my show is on MMA Junkie. And it's I have a great time. I sit and talk to the legends. And I'll even say on your show for the first time, my very next one, probably going to be Matt Hughes.
Look at that.
Who people have not seen. And I get to it. I get to it because I know it. And it's a good series, Legends to Legends. It's going to be on MMA Junkie, and I will post most of it on my social media when the show is going to come up and when it's going to. But I've worked with these guys, and they talk about their past history and their records, and man, I sit and sometimes I'm talking and I don't know the things that I knew until I start talking. But then, you know what? We talk on the real tip. Because there isn't one guy, except the guys anybody that came in after 2016.
Okay.
I'm a little new with. But from 2000 to 2016, I got them when they were like this, when they were kids with big eyes, when they were rookies.
I think that was when MMA was the best, man. That was the best time. I mean, you had the greatest
all of them. I got BJ Penn's pro debut at UFC. I think it was 30, 31. I had Pat Miletich when he had the little tight shorts. Okay.
I talked to Pat a couple of days ago. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. Again, who in your career, who was the closest or you were the coolest with? I know we mentioned Rampage. Jackson and stuff, but who, in your opinion, was very close to you in your fighting business, in your fighting career?
Okay, closest to me.
You could say boxing and MMA. How's that?
And I was going to do that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because closest to me was Joe Frazier because I was his manager.
Yes, sir.
And I worked close to him, and then I worked. And what was crazy, Joe Frazier I was Joe Frazier's manager, but also worked with Muhammad Ali, who they didn't really.
Yeah.
That click was a little, and then I worked with Muhammad Ali's daughter, who today is my wife just talked to her a couple of days ago because she's an excellent cook and has 2 or 3 television shows. So I had a relationship with Joe and Muhammad, which was kind of off the chain.
Wow.
It was like you're married and you're cheating and your wife knows it and okays it.
Yeah.
That's gonna get you in trouble. But Joe Frazier, I would say, was the closest to me. And then when I got into MMA, it was a whole different world. MMA is a whole different world than boxing.
Yes, sir.
And that is, in boxing, especially the era that I was involved in, the guys were all superstars. All of them. Back when I was in the top 12 guys, everybody knew. But boxing, the superstars, they stayed like that. Back in the day, if you saw Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield or Oscar De La Hoya, how close could you get to them?
Can't.
Couldn't. How close can you get to Chuck Liddell or Randy Couture?
Could.
You could. And that was the
difference. That's the difference.
That was the difference.
Gotcha.
In boxing, you couldn't do that. But when I came to MMA, Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell and Anderson Silva, Dana was okay with it, and I pushed it. Mm-hmm. Fans were able to touch their athletes and interact with the athletes and respond to the athletes. And it kind of flipped things around. And the corner guys were very different. In boxing, if you worked at a gym on 5th Street, you didn't go to the gym on 6th Street. You weren't allowed on 6th Street. And if you went on 6th Street, you got a 6th Street ass whooping. Okay?
Yes, sir.
In MMA, I saw guys come to the fights that were fighting each other that changed corners. or guys that worked out with the same guy that he was fighting for 3 months and went. I that was so strange to me, and I really didn't understand that, but I understood it because it made sense. So there was a big difference between how boxing superstars and MMA superstars gave themselves to the public. MMA was unbelievable. You went to a boxing event, you got a bout sheet. That was a sheet with all the fights on it. Boxing, you got a bout sheet and you had 13 fights on it. You knew the main event and co-main.
And that's it.
You go to MMA, you get a bout sheet. You know everybody. All 9 fights. And it amazed me, and that was a big difference. So it wasn't hard for me to ingratiate or become good buddies with everybody. Everybody opened up to me, and I knew everybody's record. And let me tell you my record.
Let's hear it.
My record is 356-0. And this is probably one of the first times I'm saying that. Okay, right. 356-0. If you average 8 or 9 fights on a card over my career, I've done 356 fights. If you average 8 fights, boy, I'm doing some math, ain't I? On a fight, with each fighters, that's 16 fighters. Mm-hmm. I have walked from the dressing room to the ring or the cage 6,408 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yes, sir.
That's something right there. That's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 6,400 and that's not. I did that because I figured that shit out the other day. So you're the first person that really. I figured it because somebody asked me how many fights, and I know how many fights I've done.
Mm-hmm. How many?
Boxing and MMA, and 356 is a lot. I mean, the UFC. I mean, there was a time, and right now, guys are seeing it with the UFC. Like within the next month or so, they're gonna do 3 fights in 1 week.
Yeah,
I've done that. I've done that with them. This is not the first time they've done this. Back in the day when they had Tough Enough, Tough Finale, mm-hmm. Ultimate Fighter, yep. And we were stationed between the Hard Rock and the Palms Casino. We did a fight Saturday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So we've done that before, but people never just never really
paid attention.
Paid attention to it, but we did that. And to take it to another level, I give props where it due. If you and your audience have been listening to what I've been saying about what it takes to get that done, imagine what it has taken to get it done now in this day and age.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Boggles my mind. I'm not surprised that the UFC has done it or Bellator because they had a good system in place.
The Burt Watson system.
Well, don't say that too loud. But the system was in place well enough where guys knew to follow the system. And if you put it in place, and like I said to you earlier, how I used to go clean the mats 3 times a day and pick up the towels, now they probably got to do it 9 times. Now they got to probably pick them towels up 12 times a day.
Yeah,
they probably have to bring towels in. I know they get tested. Initially, they got tested 3 times a day. Now it's twice, and they get tested every Tuesday and Friday. Now I'm telling their secrets. But I also know. I mean, I know because I know. But what's going on now is unbelievable. And the safety net of it and the way it's happened. They've had a few cases, which were pretty public, but for what they're doing, they should have had a lot more.
Yeah, you had to kind of give their hats off to them, especially being one of the very first sports to just start. I know start doing it. I remember when they started doing the events and stuff. I think Dana White was the first one. I know baseball was doing it, but then baseball had some mislaps and stuff like that. And they and same thing with the NFL. At one point, they thought of closing it down, but UFC, I mean, kept their finger on the trigger, man, and kept on
Yeah,
going.
yeah. Well, there was other sports didn't know how to do it.
They did it. You're right.
We knew how to do it because we always did it that way. Fighters always came in a group, always kept them in a group, always moved them in a group. I never moved one fighter and didn't move another.
Gotcha.
I never had a workout room for one fighter and not another. Never had a weigh-in for one fighter and not another. If there was a press conference, it was a group I knew was here and a group I knew. It was always contained and controlled and orchestrated. Always, from the beginning, it was. So it was very easy. It was more expensive than it was easy. Because I've seen the numbers on what they've spent on testing.
I was.
You have no idea.
Bro.
But the fact, anybody that and right now, during my course, the course of my career, I've probably trained maybe 35 guys to work with me. I think right now the UFC, between Las Vegas, London, and Asia, they probably still have maybe 9 or 10 of those guys. But the system still, the system works. And it's,
there it is, man. Again, what is it now that you left the UFC? What you left about 2006?
5 years ago.
5 years ago, right? So
it's a long ass time, man.
But again, you gather yourself. You have your own podcast. Again, if no one's ever listened, that's how I came across you. Legends to Legends, awesome stuff. Again, these fighters know them. They know them.
I stay on social media. Please.
You do. I give you that.
Yeah.
That Instagram I haven't tackled because I just post like when I drop a video or something, or if I'm gonna to have someone on the show. But the Instagram live, man, I mean, you tackled that monster before me. I didn't try that. I saw that and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard.
Like I said, I got back. I'm like, damn, I'm tired of talking to myself. but the production of it is not good.
Yeah.
In the static, and it goes through. But man, it's amazing that you guys have a medium that you can reach out to people like we're doing right here now.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking at all your pictures you got on the back there on the walls.
Yes,
those are all people you said have been on your shows.
Yes, sir.
I told you, you got to listen to everybody. Nobody,
yes,
nothing anybody says is irrelevant. That's a good thing. But we're in an age. Now I'm sitting there looking. Is that Chris Lieben?
Yes, sir. Right there.
Good.
He gave me his glove.
And you know what? I can't even see, but I can see that hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I have Chris Lieben. I have Jamie Varner. I have Jose Torres, Gray Maynard, Cole Miller. I had Diego Sanchez.
You know what?
Dean
Let me
Thomas.
tell you something. Miller.
Cole Miller.
The first time I've ever and I'm probably the first guy that's ever done this. That's ever worked with 2 Miller brothers at the same time in the same sport.
Really? Yeah, because it's younger.
Cole Miller, Michael Miller, Jim Miller, Dan Miller.
Look at
that. I see. I'm the only one that keeps that kind of.
But that's cool though. That's something But who would ever think that? Like that's something cool. That's something.
That you know what? I'm like, wow, and it just clicked on me. I'm saying, you know what? I worked with both of these Millers. And at the time when I started working with Dan Miller and Jim Miller, you know who was their cut person and corner person? Their mom.
Really?
She was a nurse or worked in the medical field somehow, but she was there.
Wow.
So I had Dan Miller, Cole
Got the
Miller.
whole family.
Yes, sir. And then Jim, and then the Diaz brothers, I had them. And initially, when Matt Hughes came in, Matt Hughes has a twin brother.
He does.
I don't know if you know that.
Yep.
Mark.
Yep.
Mark. And he came in and so there's some history there with all of them. And then if you look over this hand,
yep.
You see that guy right there? You know who that is?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Muhammad. That's Muhammad Ali. And then right over here.
Yeah, I was trying to look at that. I know it's Muhammad Ali. I'm trying to think.
That one there is Joe. That's me, Joe Frazier, his son Marvis Frazier, and the trainer. That's us with a suit on in the ring. Which when do you get a suit on in the ring? But the irony there is that I worked with Joe, and I worked with Muhammad, and I did their daughters. The fight between Layla Ali and Jackie Frazier, I did in 2008.
Wow.
Which
and
was
look at that. That's unbelievable. That's so much history right there.
That's unbelievable. And I got one more for you.
Let me hear it.
And you know what? History has a way of making you a part of it without you asking. Mm-hmm. You don't have to ask to become a part of history. It just does it to you. And I'm doing an interview the other day, and during the interview, it clicked on me that I worked with Randy Couture and his son. His son came to the UFC. And that didn't dawn on me until I'm sitting there doing the interview with Randy. And you know what? I worked with your son. And he said, yeah, Bert, I was there. And it was like, oh, my bad. I was just kidding. No, I wasn't kidding. It didn't, Ryan, it didn't click. But, but then there was some kerfluffle, which I won't get into now, Dana and yada, 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 yada. But Randy Couture and his son, I worked with Sugar Ray Leonard and his son, but history just does it to you, man. Just kind of.
But again, that's something awesome. And again, not a lot of people can say that, look back in their careers and say, hey, I worked with him. Just the fact that you have that and you have that knowledge and stuff and you have those memories. I mean, that's what it's about, man, right? You love the fighters. They love you.
It's off the hook. And I like, I'm getting a little lost now, because when I say lost, I watch the fights, but I don't watch it probably as much as I should. Mm-hmm. And probably because they switch from regular television to pay-per-view. And it's like, you know what?
You gotta have the ESPN Plus and the UFC
Pass. Yeah. I'm gonna go to Gunsmoke. So I watch Gunsmoke or Paladin or Black and White Western, which are my favorite things to watch. But I follow it, and I follow the fighters, and I'm very much in tune as to what's going on and
definitely
who's who and who's. And one day I'll give my opinion of all of it.
Oh, there you go. Again, it's the relationship that you build, not just because you work there, because it's because they respected you and the job that you did. You did, again, like I said, 120%, not 100%. And that goes a long way. And again, it's been a pleasure having you on, Mr. Watson. I mean, I had a blast just listening. And again, like you said, right? Anything that someone says, you got to listen. So
without a doubt, man, because it's and being in the business that you're in, you got to, because I'm going to tell you something. People don't forget when you don't listen to them.
Yes, sir.
They don't say nothing to you, but they don't forget. And you always got to be able to do that. And the platform that you have, make the best of it. People come on, you bring them on, and you'd be glad to have them on. Don't push them, because there's a lot going on and a lot of history, man. And but I got a question to you.
Yes, sir.
Now, where are you located?
I am in Dallas, Texas.
What the hell is that on the wall, bro? That ain't Texas.
All right, so let me explain something to you, Bert. All right, so I'm originally from Jersey. I'm from Secaucus. So
Okay.
I'm a Knick fan. I went to Florida State, but if you look, I have New Jersey Devils, and then my New York Knick flag fell. I mean, my Yankee flag fell where Chris Lytle was supposed to be. See it? It's because there's so much damn wind that had the garage open. But yeah, so I'm a Jersey guy, so that's why I have the
unfortunate. That's a New York Devil that fell.
No, the New Jersey Devil flag is right there.
Devil. Right.
Yeah, it's right there.
I got it. I see it.
So yeah. So again,
now, if that flag fell down, which is the Knicks, would you pick it up?
I'd eventually have to, man. That's my team. Got to roll with the team. Got to roll with them. They haven't been.
And you're living in Dallas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's happening in Dallas?
Met my wife, and we've been here ever since.
How long?
6 years now. 6 years.
6 years in Dallas.
Yes, sir. 6 years in Dallas. It's okay. I mean, it's different from Jersey, but at the same time, the Mavericks are decent, but the Knicks are always gonna unfortunately be yeah, they're not doing too good, man. Unfortunately, they haven't been good since '99. Since Ewing, John Starks just haven't been the same.
Let me tell you something. I've lived in Philly. My family moved to Philly in 1952 or something like that.
Okay.
So I've always been Philly or a Knicks fan. I remember Willis Reed.
Willis Reed, yeah.
And I go back to Clyde Frazier, and, Earl of Pearl and Barnett, and I remember,
That's when basketball was basketball, I think.
Yeah. And it's a little different now, but I know the tradition of New York and Philadelphia and New Jersey sports. And right now I still live in Philly.
Okay.
So, and I'll be here. This is it. Where I am right now is it. And I'm very close to my family. I got 5 grandchildren.
That's awesome.
My oldest grandson just graduated from Yale and played football. I got another one headed to Yale and one headed to William and Mary to play lacrosse. They got the genes from Pop. Okay?
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah,
congratulations.
But it's a pleasure, man. I enjoy being with you. And anytime, you want to plug it in.
Hey, we can definitely.
Or you want somebody that can talk about somebody and get away with it. I'm here for you, baby.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Bert Watson. Thank you so much, man. Have a blessed weekend.
Absolutely my pleasure, Alex. And I'll see you, man. I appreciate you, baby. And make sure I get a copy of this.
Oh, definitely. I'll take some clips. I'll send it to you. I'll post it on Instagram once I start getting everything edited and stuff. I'll
Peace.
All right, brother.
All night long, baby.